Recently, there has been a trend of Disney live-action remakes of their classic cartoons. However, according to IMDb, these remakes have been doing significantly less well than their cartoon counterparts, the most stark comparison being Mulan 2020. Animation has always been looked down upon, being seen as for kids. However, while not all stories should be animated, some should be animated over live action due to storytelling elements such as effects, representation, and creativity. Let's start with effects. 3 movies come to mind when it comes to the lengths of CGI. Lion King 2019, Cats 2019, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2020. The Lion King remake was marketed as live action, whereas it was more CGI, and most fans were disappointed that the characters didn't emote. Cats 2019 was seen as unnerving due to the CGI bodies instead of the Broadway costumes. It was even ranked as low as a 2.9 out of 10 according to IMDb. Now, when Sonic the Hedgehog's design first dropped, fans were very disappointed and even went as far as trying to convince the producers to change it, which pushed back the release date to February of 2020. Another cartoon that was done wrong as a live-action remake was Avatar: The Last Airbender. According to Screen Rant's, one of the main reasons it didn't do so well was because bending, the magic system within the world, wasn't done correctly by the $1 million budget that the movie was given. To show you what that was like, I'll compare a scene from the live action remake as well as the same scene from the cartoon to show you just the difference. Okay, I'm not going to show the full scene, but here's the same scene from that cartoon. Notice how much more desperate and angry Katara is. She desperately wants this man to teach her, and the only way she can do that is to prove to him that she is worth teaching by fighting him. Watch also how the bending is animated, and see how much more powerful it is compared to the movie. Whereas the live-action version of Katara is more passive, this version is desperate to win this fight, even jumping into the fray and getting absolutely slammed with a lot of water. This scene is the exact same as the movie, where she twists down onto herself so that ice comes up and forms a brace on her feet. Look at just how much more powerful it is and noticeable. Another thing that didn't do well, according to Screen Rants from Avatar, was that the live-action movie was whitewashed. Now, cartoons and animation seem to be doing so much better with POC and LGBT representation. Shows such as Avatar, Kipo and the Wonder Beast, Craig of the Creek, and Proud Family have all shown titular characters as being people of color, which most people don't get to see themselves as. Other shows, such as Sailor Moon, She-Ra, Legend of Korra, and Steven Universe, show leads of LGBTQ people, and even have explicitly stating that they are. She-Ra is a great example of this, with their main characters Adora and Catra kissing at the end, as well as a non-binary character named Double Trouble appearing. People get to see themselves as these cartoon characters. A failure in live action was the Ghost in the Shell remake. According to Forbes, this live action remake failed because the casting of Scarlett Johansson as the main character was ignoring the source material of the manga and anime, which is why it was Japanese. They whitewashed the main character instead of casting an actor or actresses who could be this character and be represented well. It was also fallen short due to the creativity of it, and it didn't work altogether, which made it get very low ratings. Another movie that portrayed how creative that animation could be pushed is Into the Spider-Verse. According to IMDb, this is the highest ranking Spider-Man to date at an 8.4 out of 10. Let's watch this scene, which is called Leap of Faith. It's the titular moment where Miles decides that he is Spider-Man. Now I'm going to talk over this because I have a couple more points about this. According to the New York Times, in an interview with the creators, they wanted to create a new sort of art style for Spider-Man and animation in general. You can see it in the comic book style animation of these little dots in the background, as well as words and marks. In the script right here, the script tells them that Miles isn't falling, he's rising. Look at just how beautiful that is, because that is his entire character. Another thing that the creators did was animate Miles different than the other Spider-Man. They animated him in frames of 1, which means 1 frame per every 12 seconds, 1 frame, instead of by 2s, which was faster and more smooth, which started to close the gap here where he's being animated in 2s. It showed that at the beginning of the movie, he was way more awkward and way more klutzy with his movements, whereas here he is way more fluid and finally filling into his role as Spider-Man. And there's your words. Okay. Disney and Dreamworks have also found creativity within their own animated movies. Movies such as Mulan and Treasure Planet and, I gotta check it, Emperor's New Groove falls under Disney's weird period, which is where they decided that since their 2D animation studios were being shut down, that they were gonna produce as many weird and fun stories as they possibly could, which became one of the most iconic stories to date. DreamWorks also did the same thing, whereas their movies Prince of Egypt, which is remarkable as a masterpiece, and Megamind even happened. Megamind is very interesting because the villain is someone that you would see in regular life, which most other studios wouldn't do. These animations continue to push creativity. I still don't believe all stories should be animated, since there are some stories like, I guess, Fight Club would be very interesting to see as animated, even though it is nitty and grittier, which wouldn't translate very well. However, creativity, representation, and overall storytelling of animated features seem to outshine their counterparts and create new stories and new worlds